How's the summer going?
Good.
What do you think when you look at the team as a whole at this point?
Yeah, I just think you look at the team where we are now from where we were, call it, last year ending training camp, just adding more speed, explosiveness on both sides of the ball, and just competition every day.
Does the process change with the one cut day for next week for you? I would imagine you and your team, you guys are spread all over trying to evaluate, not just here, but across the
Yeah,
league.
yeah, Art. Our process doesn't change. The nice part is that we're really meticulous, especially with our pro department. Chris Rossetti leading the pro department on how we go about evaluating it, whether it's the pro scouts being split up with different teams assignments, Tim McDonald and myself overseeing, whether it's NFC, AFC, funneling players of interest up to Joe, having Dennis Hickey, Ryan Cowden all filling in just in terms of canvassing the landscape. If there's guys that are playing well out there, there's nothing that's going to be a surprise to us, whether it's a guy that's at the Cutdown, whether a guy who's traded in the next 2 weeks. We'll be doing our due diligence throughout the process. So whether teams decide to cut prematurely to call it a benchmark of 80 before they get down to 53, we'll be prepared. There's no curveballs or surprises on our end.
You have a philosophy like, we're going to do it all at once on the last day, or like as it comes along, or
In terms of evaluating the league,
no, in terms of making the
yeah, that's going to be really wholeheartedly up to Joe and Dave. But I just think it's where we are from a health standpoint, and obviously getting through the Jets game. What we need from offense, defense, special teams, and then going that way.
You had made 5 claims between cut day and week 1 last year. Do you expect to be as active, working the waiver wire this year?
Obviously we've elevated the talent overall in the team, but we're going to canvas everything. We're at the end of the day, when you look at it, Dan, it's going to be acquire, develop, retain. That's what we want to do. It's acquiring the best talent, developing the best talent, retaining the best talent. So we're always going to look for upgrades, and sometimes where we are in the claim order, it's different than last year, right? So that preference in the claim order where we land up, it's going to be something that we monitor it, but we're going to do our due diligence. There's going to be guys that are claimed that we'll have maybe 4, 5, 6 reports in on, but it may not get to us in the claim order. So we're going to look at what the sweet spots are, where there's surplus on in the market, and see if there's opportunity to help us.
What's your take on this rookie draft class now that we're pretty deep into training camp? It looks like there's a lot of guys who are going to play pretty significant roles in this.
Yeah, and go back to June when we talked last, talk adding more guys that are smart, tough, dependable. And like I said in June, it doesn't guarantee them success, but it gives them an opportunity and a platform for success. So I think when you look at the draft class, we added explosiveness. We talk about making a conscious effort, adding generators on the offensive side, getting more explosive on the defensive side, guys that fit our brand. And I think when you look from the top down, from Joe and Dave's preaching collaboration, when there's synergy between the scouting department and the coaching staff, it allows us, like I kind of label it, finding players within the margin, right? They're guys that may be imperfect later on as you go in terms of on day 3, but we're asking them to do things that fit the system, and that accentuates their positive traits. So I'm excited. Obviously there's been early success, but the book isn't written yet, but it's a good start right now.
Is anybody surprise you from that group that saying, hey, they're farther than?
I wouldn't label anybody as a surprise. I think we all knew that we're excited from whether you're going from Tay in the first round to Trey in the 6th round. We're all been excited for all these guys when we acquired them, even Jordan in the 7th round, Gio. Like, these guys all have traits to play on Sunday. It was just a matter of marrying the development from the coaching staff to having game day traits. And that's where the synergy comes from. Dave preaches to the coaching staff, develop these guys. Our rookies, our year 2 guys, there's been a high emphasis on developing their skill set. And for us on the scouting side is making sure that they have the skill set that fits our scheme. So it's been a good marriage so far. Kim?
You look at Jalen Hyatt, it strikes me that if the rest of the league could redo it, he may not be there for you in the 3rd round right now, given what we've seen in training camp. And I know it's just training camp.
Right.
But what did you see that is now manifesting itself on the practice field that led you guys to say, I'm guessing he could be a difference maker?
Yeah, so I think with Jalen, it's doing your due diligence. It's one, knowing what he was asked to do at Tennessee. It's us having those extra conversations with his position coach at Tennessee, talking to the coaching staff at Tennessee, knowing what their system called for, because what he's doing for us, he has more talent in his body than the role he was asked to play at Tennessee. So you look at the skill set, did he have bend, balance, and burst? Can he get out of breaks? Was he asked to run a limited route tree at Tennessee versus what he can do for us? I think us going that full circle of doing all our due diligence and finding the evidence. And it was a great process. And I said again, the synergy, you talk about the full process with Jalen. Hats off to our college department. They identified Jalen early. That allowed Joe, Tim, Dennis to go see him against Alabama, allowed me to go see him later against Missouri. Then Mike Grohl spends time with him. Dave spends time with him. We have him in the facility for a 30 visit. We get him on the board. All those things add to who he is and the upside. You see him making extra effort in terms of blocking down the field in practice. That adds to who he is. He's a great young man, and we're excited for him.
Probably a similar answer, but how about the scouting process with Hawkins, a guy who comes out of a smaller school? Any stories stick out about when you saw him against two? Like, how did he get on your board when maybe he wasn't on every team's board?
Well, you look at Trey, look no further than the physical traits. I kind of laugh and tell him, he's Temple, Texas tough. And he's a guy that's gone the JUCO route, and he's got length that fits our system. It's getting the description from Wink. Wink is very particular of what plays in the system and what's at a premium. And we know, hey, you got to be able to run, got to be strong, got to, guys that have length, and you got to be willing to be physical in the run game, also in press coverage. So when you look at Trey, he's the guy that stood out at the All-Star game. It's not a surprise to us. We had him in the building on a 30 visit. Jerome, Mike Trier, they spend time with him on the board. And then we look at where he is in training camp. Nothing has been too big for him. Every time there's been a platform, he's answered the bell. So I think more guys, like him that fit our profile, and then they have the mental toughness, play with short-term memory. They're getting coached the same way. It doesn't matter how we acquire them. Once they're here, it's an even playing field. So Dave says again, you earn your playing time based on merit, and Trey's nothing more of an example of that.
Your involvement in that, like, when did you get a first look at him? Like, and when did you, sort of
Trey?
see him? Yeah, see him, or
So
you guys touch.
Yeah, so you go back to their games. You look at him against top competition or FBS competition. You see him against Virginia, and then you watch him against the App States, the Coastal Carolinas. And he's a guy who's physical, whether it was a run play, pass play, wedging guys to the sideline, finishing late on the ball, being able to dislodge the ball, separate the receiver from the ball. Those are traits where you saw really good tape and flashes. And that's part of the synergy, where can we make those flashes consistent? And once we get him on campus and we have a 30 visit with him, spending time with him, knowing the adversity he's overcome, going the JUCO route, knowing that he doesn't just like ball, he loves ball, and that he's going to be, a student of the game for us. And those smart, tough, dependable mantras that we give, like, he's another guy that embodies it. And he's been taken to the coaching, and we're going to keep putting more on his plate and let him handle what he can handle.
Andre Patterson last week about Jordan Riley said that, along the lines of what you said about the margin, he said that you guys, the way you have the alignment set up is that the coaches and the scouts look beyond the on-field production. And obviously the on-field production stands out, but what his tape not showing that we see him individually on all the players? How big of a part of the evaluation process is that for you guys? Some people take a chance or won't take a chance, but you guys are taking that chance based on knowledge and really input.
Right. And I can't mention Jordan Riley without mentioning Dennis Hickey and Tim McDonald. They were driving forces in terms of the process of Jordan. I remember going back to my notes. Jordan's not on anybody's radar. It's October. Dennis Hickey goes out to Oregon, sees him, is like, D, listen, I'm just telling you, this guy has traits that we want to play with knockback. We want to be big up front. Want to control the line of scrimmage. Like, he fits our brand of ball. And Tim tells me, B, we need to go see him play. So Tim and I went and saw him play against Cal, and Tim's been the ultimate checks and balances for me, someone that I have blind trust in, where He says, like, we need to go watch this guy, and we come apart from it. You can walk out to warm-ups, and he sticks out like a sore thumb. And there's some inconsistencies in this game, and you got to do the full evidence and due diligence and the fact-finding process on Jordan. Him being a 3-school transfer, us going the extra mile in terms of having Andre Patterson and Brian Cox work him out privately. In the personnel department, we refer to Dre Patterson as Dr. Dre, right? So he's a guy that puts his fingerprints on guys and tweaks up their techniques, and we see flashes, but you can't replicate Jordan's size. There's not just that many men walking on the world that have his size. So it's on us to kind of bridge that gap with, can he take to the coaching, the development, getting his weight right, all those things that every time we put a benchmark in front of him, he's met it. So, and the nice part is the teammates root for him. Leo and Dex, they've taken him under their wings like a little brother. And I think, the production that you're seeing in the preseason, we're hoping that, that can be a catalyst for things to come in the future. But it's been really cool to see.
Brandon, do you see the Cutdown Day as somewhat of a mini draft in the sense that you have an evaluation board on everybody who's playing for everybody?
Yeah, it's a point where you look at times of where can you acquire players. It's whether it's the draft, whether it's the trade deadline, whether it's the cutdown period. I kind of say for the pro guys, it's their Super Bowl. Besides free agency, it is a acquisition point where we have the ability to improve the roster, and we do our due diligence on everyone. I know you guys may see stories on guys that we don't entertain, guys that we do entertain. Just know we're doing our due diligence on everyone, and that's the unseen work from the pro department. We set up our free agency board, our draft boards is no different than the preseason board. There's a board that goes across by priority and positions, and we look at, hey, what would be an upgrade from what we currently have, and what wouldn't, and why, and then find out. Especially, you look at what positions over historical data has been claimed the most. You look at defensive guys having a higher hit rate of being claimed and playing on a 53 after the cut down than maybe some offensive guys. So we take all that into account and try to make the most sound and informed decisions. Sure.
What are you seeing in Daniel this year that maybe is a little bit different, or with another year under his belt in the system?
Well, it's just confidence. I think with Daniel, that he knows that we have his back and then that we believe in him. And it was our job to get him generators. Dave speaks about generators, and not just guys that are run after catch, but guys that can be quick strike players, guys that can create open windows for him. So I think our job is to make him the best version of himself, and him coming back and doing the work with the skill guys over the summer. It all just lends itself to him being more confident and us gelling and finding our groove earlier.
I have kind of a third question. How do you think the super conferences that are forming in college football affects NFL scouting?
For us, it doesn't. We still have to go see the games. Now, what it will help is seeing their best versus another team's best, right? So you don't have to worry about maybe a watered down game. Now, as we're putting together our travel schedule, if we know that we can go see 2 premier teams playing every single week, or we can have multiple looks at, iron sharpens irons, best versus best, it allows us to easier see, okay, what's playing at a high level on the big stage. But that would probably be the biggest thing. But it won't change our scouting processes at all.